Okay, so can your biological age actually affect your paycheck? Usually, we think of our health and our finances as these two totally separate buckets. But in this explainer, we're diving into the absolutely fascinating evidence backed link between the cells in your body and the actual balance in your bank account. We're going to fundamentally shift how you look at physical fitness. Instead of viewing exercise as this annoying lifestyle chore, that thing you always feel kind of guilty about skipping, we're going to reframe it as a vital, highly measurable capital investment. Because, as you'll see from the data, your body is literally an economic engine. All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the economics of health. To really wrap our heads around this, we have to look at the Grossman model of health demand. So, introduced by Michael Grossman way back in 1972, this model sets up a completely brilliant concept. Your health, it isn't just a static condition, and it's definitely not just a roll of the genetic dice. It's actually an actively depreciating capital asset. Think about it like a factory machine or a used car, right? You inherit a baseline model, and over time, thanks to natural wear and tear, it inevitably deteriorates. And because our health naturally depreciates like that, the model shows we have to actively inject gross investment back into it just to keep the machine running smoothly. So, what exactly does that investment look like? Well, obviously it's medical care, but it's also the time you spend exercising, sleeping, and eating right. You're literally investing your resources to buy more healthy time for market activities, like, working and earning money. The model even predicts that as your wages go up, your demand for health capital goes up too, simply because your healthy time becomes way more valuable. It's a total game changer. Moving right along to Section 2, reversing your biological age. Now, there's a pretty stark contrast between two very different numbers you carry around every single day. Your chronological age, that's rigidly fixed. It's just the number of birthdays you've celebrated. But your biological age, that is highly malleable. It measures how well your cells, your immune system, and your organ systems are actually functioning compared to your peers. It's a completely moving target. To put this into perspective, the Ikigai Health Institute highlights a really fascinating scenario. Imagine two people who literally share the exact same 60th birthday. Chronologically, they're identical, but physiologically, it's a totally different story. One might have amazing mitochondrial function and fat metabolism, so they're performing like a 45-year-old. Meanwhile, the other might be dealing with severe insulin resistance and chronic inflammation, functioning much closer to a 75-year-old. Same exact relative birthday, entirely different biological reality. But here's the really good news. You have levers you can actually pull to lower that biological age by treating things like your cardiorespiratory fitness, specifically your VO2 max, and your muscle mass as vital medical signs. You can actually turn back the clock. Seriously, these aren't just vanity metrics for bodybuilders. They dictate your cellular energy. In fact, a 2021 clinical trial proved that just 8 weeks of targeted diet, exercise, and sleep improvements yielded a 3-year biological age reversal on an epigenetic clock. And an epigenetic clock is essentially a biochemical test that measures how your DNA is actually aging. You can literally rebuild a depreciating asset. How crazy is that? All right, let's look at Section 3, the exercise income connection. So we've established that you can upgrade your biological machinery, but does that actually show up in your bank account? The short answer is absolutely yes. According to research from the Journal of Labor Research, people who exercise regularly, and we're just talking about 20 minutes a day, at least 3 times a week, earn a massive 6% to 10% more than their less active colleagues. Just let that sink in for a second. A 6 to 10% bump in your salary simply correlated with a baseline habit of hitting the gym or going for a run. And what's even more interesting about this data is that it proves it's not just if you exercise, but how hard you exercise that correlates with a dramatically higher salary. Self-reported data reveals that folks who stick to low-intensity workouts earn an average of $54,000 annually. Bump that up to medium intensity, and the average jumps to $67,000. But those who push themselves with high-intensity workouts, they rake in an average of $83,000 a year. No joke. So how does this actually happen in the real world? Well, a 10-day Harvard Business Review study perfectly illustrates the domino effect here. Step 1, your physical activity triggers cellular repair. Step 2, this builds what researchers call resource caravans, which are essentially daily energy reserves, like deeper, more restorative sleep. And that directly boosts your job's self-efficacy, which is really just a fancy academic way of saying your confidence in your own capability to absolutely crush your daily work. Then, step 3, this newly found vigor enhances your task focus. You process information faster and you concentrate way better. The physical effort you put in today literally buys you the focus you need to excel tomorrow. Which brings us to Section 4, the productivity payoff. Now, if individual employees are earning more, companies absolutely must be seeing a return on their end, right? To answer that, we're going to look at a fascinating case study of an industrial laundry company called Laundry Co. Researchers basically wanted to causally link objective medical data from a voluntary corporate wellness program directly to actual measurable productivity outputs from the workers on the floor. And what they discovered is honestly mind-blowing. Simply offering the wellness program, just giving employees access to health screenings and registered nurses, boosted baseline productivity by 5%. And get this, that happened even for workers whose health didn't drastically change. You might be wondering, why? Well, it comes down to reciprocity and job satisfaction. The company showed they actually cared, so the employees reciprocated with more effort. A 5% boost is effectively adding an entire free day of productive work per month for the average employee. That is huge. But wait, it actually gets better. For the employees who took the information from the wellness program and actively improved their diet and exercise habits, their daily productivity surged by a massive 11%. Whether they were previously sick or previously healthy, the sheer act of making lifestyle improvements created a double-digit jump in their daily output. Upgraded biology literally equals upgraded workflow. Let's bring it all home with Section 5, the ROI of prevention. Treating health as a capital investment scales way beyond the individual, and even beyond the company. It scales out to entire communities. When we zoom out, reports from Minga Analytics visually map the staggering financial savings generated by proactive public health policies. It proves once and for all that preventative health isn't some sunk cost. It is a remarkably high-yield investment. Just look at the sheer scale of the returns on this slide. Updating childcare regulations for physical activity costs under $2 per child, but it saves an unbelievable $52 million in future healthcare costs over a decade. Funding senior exercise programs, that costs a couple of $100 up front, but it saves up to $634 per avoided fall. How about a simple sugar-sweetened beverage tax? It saves $31 in healthcare for every single dollar spent. And comprehensive CDC investments yield a $6.90 return for just a $2.50 per capita investment. It brilliantly illustrates that treating community health as a capital asset generates an undeniably massive economic return. So remember the Grossman model. Your biology is an incredible yet actively depreciating asset. Every single choice you make is either withdrawing from your physical capital or actively investing in it. So I'll leave you with this one question. How will you choose to invest your health capital today?